Hello everyone, Darth Loquater here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'd like to speculate with you all about this new Conquest game mode. They dropped some information on the road ahead for January 2021. So I'd just like to talk about what I think it is, what the post said it is, whether or not it's really going to be new content, and whether or not it's really a game mode that's built for the players. I think that's a question a lot of people have. So if we go into this, I don't want to read all the actual post itself, but if you want to read it, go on over to the forums and have a look. But it's basically, it's going to be a new area within the Galactic Wars. So the Galactic War table is now going to be, a different table. And when you click on it, the Galactic Wars will be in there just as wars, and this will be in there as conquest. It's going to be a series of escalating battles in a sector, and it's going to require energy to play those battles. It says it culminates in a boss fight for the end of the sector. It's going to go on once a month for several weeks. There's going to be all kinds of feats. There's going to be combat feats, mission feats, sector feats, and event feats. So very feat-driven in that regard. They say you'll be able to encounter merchants and data disks in between combats. So that's a new thing. The data disks are meant to be buffs that'll last you for the rest of the event. And they say that there's a limit to it. So let's say, a disk might have 20 points and another disk might have 30 points. But you're only allowed to have up to 20 points for a mission. You'll only be able to use the small disk, and then later on with the boss, maybe you're allowed to use 50 points and you can use both. So that's going to be some way to keep continuously boosting yourself up as you go along. There's going to be a new shop in the shipments that's going to be using a new type of coin, so you'll win coins during your missions, and then you'll be able to go in there and potentially buy things out of the shop. There's a new feature called Stamina, and it says that the team will receive a stamina penalty when they successfully complete a mission. So it's not clear how that stamina works, but hey, it's a video today about speculation, so I intend to speculate on a few different ways that stamina might play into the game. So I expect a mesh somewhat like this, and I'm not the greatest artist in the world, but I think there's going to be a bunch of different battles, and you're going to hopefully be able to see those battles and be able to know what they are ahead of time, and then pick a path that goes through here. And what I think might happen is that after each, so the circles represent those combat missions. So once you're done with the combat mission and you're ready to move on, you would click a loot box or one of those data disks, and you would pick that up. And then once you're at that spot, you would pick, from one of two nodes potentially where you go from there. So you can see this is a very simple little matrix, but you could pick a lot of different paths going through here, where you start out and where you move to and how you end up at the end with the boss. If the shop is selling something really good, I don't know. I don't know if you'll see a bunch of shops or if they'll just be like one shop before the boss. That's probably what I would do. You end up at a shop right before the boss so that you can buy all your stuff and gear up and get ready for that final combat, whatever that looks like. It might also be that each time you're done, it just gives you a choice of three things. Do you want loot? Do you want a disc? Or do you want the shop? So there's different ways that they could implement that. But I think based on how Galactic War already looks, we can expect the map to look similar to Galactic War. And, that's nodes with boxes in between. So I expect to see, some path with nodes with boxes in between. That's it would be easy to predict based on what's already there. I think there's going to be maybe energy at the top of this and feats at the top of this. Because remember, it said that there's feats for the mission, but there's also feats for the conquest and the whole event and the sector. So if this is one sector and we're picking different planets within sector and then we end up at the boss, we still got to know what those overall feats are. So there's probably some feature to look at those. Then when you click on that combat node, like what's really in there, I speculate that it's exactly the Galactic Challenge. I think tier 1 through tier 7 feats that you have to get through, bonuses for one particular faction. I think the Galactic Challenge is built for this. I think that was the way that they tested that mode by putting it in there with events for us to play around with. I think that part of it's done. And I think you can expect to see that each one of these will be a Galactic Challenge. Now, hey, again, I'm speculating. I don't know for sure. Maybe the code that they did is going to allow them to build something with a different interface and still be able to use that code. But boy, it would be really easy for them to just drop it in so that each one of these nodes is a different Galactic Challenge. And that would also lend itself to the fact that you've got the feats, the conditions, the bonus factions, all that stuff. I think instead of the loot box at the bottom, they said there's going to be key cards. So depending on how many feats you've completed, how high of a tier you've completed, that'll determine how many key cards you're given. And I really do hope that they implement a, are you ready to move on feature? Because I would hate to have it that, you come in there one day and you double click something by accident and it just moves you on to the next node and locks in your rewards for the last node. I think they really need that feature where you click on something and it says, are you ready to move? And you say yes, and then it moves you on to the loot or whatever is next. So I hope they do that. And then there's a bunch of new currency to manage, right? So they said energy is going to be required for each combat mission, and they've got stamina, and characters are going to take some kind of a hit to stamina. And I don't know if that's going to be like it is, say, in a territory war where you use a team and it just blanks out that team and you can't use it, and then it regenerates later, the next day or something. Or what it might be, and again, this is just pure speculation, but imagine that each character takes 5 energy and you put them into the Galactic Challenge, or you put them into this combat mission, and you don't like the result and you want to take the same team in. So let's say there's a feat for killing 3 things in the same turn, and you use your Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, you spend 25 energy and you don't get that feat. And you just want to take that team back in there. Well, maybe the next time around, all of those characters cost 8 stamina. And each day or 8 energy, and each day that comes down. So yeah, the character, maybe it'll be a penalty where the character's less effective in combat, or maybe it'll just be where, taking this stamina penalty makes it harder and harder to have the energy to buy you into the mission. So I don't know, that'd be interesting if they put in an interaction like that. It'd be a nice challenge to try to figure all that stuff out. And then they've got conquest coins, so, probably your feats are going to allow you to get some conquest coins if it's a sector feat or something like that. Those are going to be used in that new shop in the shipments to buy boosts and potentially to restore the stamina on characters and teams that you want to give them their stamina back. And then the key cards that you're going to accumulate are going to unlock a crate at the end. So I imagine that it's, instead of the crate at the bottom in the current mission, you're going to see these key cards down there, and you'll get a certain number of key cards, and then right at the end or in the boss fight or something like that, maybe it'll lock in a box, and then that's where you'll get your box depending how many key cards you got for everything up to that point. So a bunch of different stuff to track. And then what is the boss? It culminates in a boss fight at the end. So what is that? I think it could be maybe a wave event like the assault battles where you have to fight 8 waves and there's just a boss character in the end wave like the Grandmaster Yoda or Vader or something like that, like we've seen in the assault battles. My hope is that it would be like a one-shot mini raid. So imagine like going into the Rancor and not 4 different, phases to the raid, but just one phase, right? So you go in against the boss, and there's some mechanics there where you can't really beat the boss with one team. You got to kind of, bring in a couple different teams to beat him. Maybe there's some different things that have to be done before you're finally finished. So something like that would be pretty cool, and it would really make you save the right teams or get stamina for the right teams so that you could get through that little mini boss raid. So that would be my hope, is that it would actually be a raid. I think it's going to be lame if it's just another challenge, if it's, or, like some of the journey events where you come in and it's just like Master Yoda standing there and you fight him and it's done. Even if it's a hard fight and you got to, work away at it, I still think that's kind of lame just to have like a one character boss. So hopefully they do some kind of raid thing with it. That would be interesting. So is this really new content? For the nodes, I expect that the Galactic Challenge is the new content and that this is the end game implementation for that all along. And I think that the variety of challenges that they could put is pretty good because, if you don't have separatist droids, then you could also pick a rebel node. If you don't have rebels, you could pick a clones node. If you don't have clones, you could pick a first order node. So I think because these have some variety to them, and hopefully you can see them ahead of time. If not, it might also be like, when you're standing in front of two different nodes that you could take, you'll be able to see those two nodes, and you'll be able to pick whichever one you're better equipped to do. And if they do something like the mini raids, or even if they do like, one really hard character or something like that, it's going to be new. It'll be different and interesting, so that's at least some kind of new content. So is this for the players or is this for profit? And I just want to clear this up with everybody. Everything they do in the game costs them money to build, and they are expecting it to drive some kind of profit. So how are they going to profit off of this? There's two ways. So if the energy can be refreshed for crystals, that's one example where they can, provide some little mini economy there for you to spend your crystals. Potentially you could buy those coins with crystals for that shipment shop and be able to refresh your stamina or something like that using crystals to generate that energy. But really what the whole thing is, think about the fleets from the Galactic Challenges, right? They're going to limit how well you can do in Conquest. And until you get all kinds of different teams from every different faction, you're always going to be limited on how many of those key cards you can get and how good of a prize you can get at the end. And that's how they want to drive their sales. That's what they do now, and that's what they will continue to do. They're going to continue to build things that make you want to build a bigger roster. And my caution to everybody out there, and especially for newer players, people who might not have played the game this long, and they see this new game mode coming in, player, know thyself. If you're somebody who's in this game and you don't mind spending money and building up characters and, do what you're normally doing on your account. Don't change that. Don't try to build a whole bunch more new teams just to try to get these feats done. My advice to everybody would be do the best you can with what you have. Stick to the plan. You're going to be better off building a big team. And just like the Galactic Challenges, if you can go up to Tier 7 and beat Tier 7, even if it's only the feat for winning Tier 7, you still get an awful lot of stuff for just completing the high tier. So that would be my focus, take the teams that you've got, make those teams good. Just being able to beat the challenge at a decent level is going to give you something. And don't go crazy trying to get every faction so that you can maximize your participation in the Conquest event. So is it for players from the player side? It's more stuff, right? So we've already got a game that has raids and territory wars and territory battles and farming for gear and all that stuff. Whatever this is coming in on top of that. So it's maybe they've finally found a way to acknowledge the fact that the gear gate makes it take way too long for new players to do anything. And they're saying, okay, this is a way for us to inject more gear into the game. We can put more stuff out there so that the new players can keep advancing their characters. If it's just that, it's already something, right? If they make these, if they put it together in a certain way, I think it's going to be a good challenge. I think there'll be new stuff, and especially if the mini boss is actually good new mini raid, whatever it is, it's really going to be an opportunity for content creators in the community to talk about it, to figure out what teams work and share that information and help each other out and show other players how to, beat a particular challenge. So I like that aspect of the game. I like that, sometimes there's a solution to it and people can share that solution, and then, a lot of people can benefit from it. And my hope is that the rewards will be progressive like they are in the crate, where if you're a new player, it loads you up with a lot of gear for the first few boxes that you get. It's progressively enriched with a lot more gear. And then for the mid-tier boxes that they start, getting the mod slicing for the 6-dot mods. And that at the highest levels, or maybe even, a mediocre level, you get maybe 2 pieces for Relic 8, and it goes up from there. I really think they need to put that stuff into these crates so that as you progress, as your teams get better, you'll start getting that 6-dot mod slicing stuff. And as your characters get better from there, you'll be able to do some Relic 8. As a player, I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, I'm not in a guild that can do that Rancor raid, that new epic Rancor raid. So I'm not getting anything for Gear 8. And I'm waiting for them to put something into the game that makes that accessible to me. Even if it's just a little bit, even if I've got to, play for 2 months to get one Relic 8, I still want to know that I can get it, that it's out there for me somewhere. And I think if this game mode drops and there's no additional access to Relic 8, and Relic 8 just remains the priority for the people who already have enough to beat that Rancor raid, then, I think that would make me pretty unhappy on my main account. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for at least some way to participate and get those Relic 8 things going. So overall, again, this is all speculation. I don't have insider information. I don't know anything that other people don't know, but I think for the people that already have everything, they're going to quickly sort this out and figure out the best way to get through it. They're going to be able to complete most of the feats with 2 teams at the highest level and move on to the next node. And they're going to get bored with it pretty quickly. And it goes back to that old saying, what gift do you get for the person with everything? And I think it's the same way here. When you've basically beaten the game in terms of collecting and building the characters, then you can probably expect that the content's not going to be something new and exciting every time for you. But again, if it escalates and that raid boss at the end is hard, maybe those big guys can sit there for a week chewing away at that raid boss at the end, trying to, or that, whatever that boss is going to be at the end, trying to maximize their rewards there. So it could be a challenge that keeps everybody challenged. I think there's going to be a base of newer players or free-to-play players that get upset, and a lot of people want the game to give them lots of free stuff and be able to compete at the highest levels. And in a game like ours, that shouldn't ever happen. They have to motivate people to spend money somehow, and the people that have already spent money have to always feel like they're going to stay ahead and nobody can ever catch up because of the amount of money that they've spent. So in a game like this, if you're free to play and you're giving the game makers no contribution toward making new content, then you have to live with what they give you. And I'm not judging whether that's right or wrong. I'm not saying that people are good or bad or that you have to spend money in the game. I just want to make it real and say that if you're a free-to-play player, that's what you've chosen and that's the level you're going to play at. That's fine. But don't expect the game to give you end-game content for free. They still have to motivate people to spend. And my biggest hope out of this whole thing, I hope that it's a resource management challenge, that the energy that you spend in these battles has to be managed carefully, and that the stamina and how you use your teams and how fast they can get back into the rotation is part of that challenge. And the amount of coins that you get and whether or not you're going to buy back stamina. I hope that that's really like a 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle where you have to balance those 3 things. And for people with savvy or who think they're strategic, to try to figure out a way to get the most possible key cards with the least possible energy expenditure and getting through it. And that's what's fun for me, and that's what I'll have fun if this game mode brings a challenge in terms of resource management and trying to get the most for the least. Let me know what you all think. Put your comments down below. I hope we have a lively discussion. And if you really want a lively discussion, join my Discord. Get on over there and start speculating on your ideas and what you like and what you don't like about the new game mode and what you hope it is. And we'll see you over there, I hope. Give this video a like. Subscribe to my channel to see more stuff in the future. Thank you all for your time.